All right, first up, the Hyundai Veloster. And actually, the Veloster and the Elantra launch in essentially the same way. So this is a 2-for-1. They have two different options. First, you've got the dual clutch option. If you've got two clutches, either two paddles or a pedal and a paddle, we're going to pull both of the clutches in neutral, and then we are going to depress the gas. We're going to let the second clutch out until we reach the bite point that we want. So I'm going to aim for, I'm pulling the paddle in around 25%. Then I let go of the first paddle and see it drops us to that second paddle's number, which I was holding at about 24%. So you see I pull in one clutch paddle. Now I'm pulling in a second. I let go of the second until it's at about where the proper launch point is. Then I let go of the first one. You can see the clutch immediately drop to where it needs to go. So practically, let's see it in action. Pulling both clutches in, letting the first one out where I think it needs to be. Then we wait for the green flag. And that method is fine, but it is not always perfectly accurate. So let's head back to the launch point with the Veloster again and try something else. All right, back at the launch point, we are sitting in neutral in the Veloster, and what we're going to do is try a handbrake start. This is option number 2. Instead of pulling in both our clutches, we're going to push in our handbrake. And in this case, I have my handbrake bound to a button because I'm not letting anything out here. It's just a 100 to 0 is all I need. So a button is perfectly fine if that's what you need to map this to. And then I am going to pull in my clutch. And then I'm going to shift into first and try and hunt for the clutch bite point. So I'm holding the handbrake in, and that is what's keeping the car in place. And as I let the clutch out, you're going to hear the engine note change. And that's because now I've dropped into the rev range. I've dropped to about 5,000 revs. And I am now what this has done is it allows me to preview where the correct bite point is. You see 25, too much. And we bogged down around 19, 18. There it goes. So, again, let's try this practically. So we get the red lights, push the handbrake in, push the clutch in, gas, and then we have to shift to first to find the bite point, which means you can't hunt for the bite point until the red lights come on. So you don't have too much time to do this, but we'll go down. We'll go for 22 there. That sounds good. And then when the green lights go, we let go of the handbrake. In both methods, we're just letting the clutch out slowly, kind of in tandem with us going through first gear, and then eventually just letting the clutch fully out before we reach the top of first. Let's hop over into the Honda and see how that one works. Now, the Honda, generally considered the easiest to start. Easy doesn't necessarily always mean fast, so let's take a look. We're going to try a similar strategy to the Hyundais, as well as just a straight just sort of drop into first and go. So we'll start with that first. The Honda, you can do the clutch start, and you can even do the handbrake. There are people who will simply put it into neutral and rev it up. Then you go. Now, if you have the throttle at 100%, you may wheel spin, depending on the conditions, depending on the setup. But that is certainly an easy start. Other options, though. You have the handbrake start that is available to the Hyundais. So we can push the handbrake in, push the clutch in, and look for that bite point. And then go. But you can drop the Honda's clutch much faster than the Hyundai's, and you'll want to do that or else it will slow down. Because it just has so much more go in the bottom half of the first gear the Hyundai's don't have. The Hyundai's need a little bit more clutch held in to help them out with that. Your final option in the Honda is the dual clutch start as well. That works here. So we can pull both clutches in first gear, let the clutch out until around when we need it, and then we drop the second clutch, and then let them out. And even there, I held that in a little too long. Those are your 3 different options when it comes to starting the Honda. And last but not least, the Audi. The Audi is a bit different than the other cars. Its gearing is very aggressive. First gear, very short. Second gear, very short. You don't go below third gear once you're up to speed on a lot of tracks. It also has a built-in launch control. So that is what we're going to do for our Audi start. Now you could also sort of simulate the launch control with a double clutch start, much like the double clutch starts in the Hyundai and the Honda. But again, you're kind of guessing with that bite point potentially moving on you session to session. So a launch control launch is going to be the most reliable for the Audi. We're going to start in neutral, and then we are going to rev up, and you're going to see our revs are capped at 3,000, and that is because in our black box under car adjustments, the fixed setup defaults to a launch control RPM of 3,000. So it's holding us just below 3,000. And you can see we get up to 3,000 around 30 to 40% throttle. I'm going to hold at 35% throttle, wait for the green lights, and then we are going to shift into first and go. And we're going to have to shift up very quickly because those first 2 gears are so short. The Audi is the easiest to spin the tires in. It's the hardest to get the start right in. But if you get it right, it can be the fastest off the line. So let's check it out. And you could tell just from that launch, there was a very slight spin of the wheels, but smooth otherwise. You're right on edge with the amount of torque the Audi is putting through those front wheels.